All right, James, my friend, welcome to the GSDMO podcast.
Thank you so much. Great to be here, Josh.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this, man. I was just, before we hit the record button, I was telling you, I'm a huge fan of everything that you do. So I'm really, really excited to jump into this. Before we talk about all the amazing things that you're up to today, the things that you're doing now today, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them here in the first place. Rewind the clocks. Like, what did you do? What led to your entrepreneur journey, and what really led to what you're doing now today?
Well, my entrepreneur journey really was born out of a decision that I made in 2010, which was to stop drinking alcohol. And I stopped drinking. And then not soon after I stopped drinking, I got this amazing job as a TV presenter for Sports Center on ESPN. And it was amazing. And I was like, wow, I had 2 years of kind of like a Z level of fame with sports fans around the world who would see me on the show. I got to watch and talk about sport all day. But kind of in the background was always like, yeah, I'm still working in corporate America here. I'm still working for someone. I really want to go and build my own business. And so while I was at ESPN, I learned how to do online marketing, and I wrote a little online book and tried to sell it. Didn't really do particularly well. And then in 2012, I decided to quit that very handsomely paid job and safe job with lots of benefits and prestige of ESPN and go and venture into the entrepreneurial world. And candidly, I struggled for about 18 months or so. In fact, I only had about $30,000 in incomings for the first 18 months after I left that multiple six-figure job at ESPN. But, I figured it out. I learned sales, I learned marketing, I learned how to create a business, and I ultimately created the two businesses that I still have today, one of them which helps high performers like real estate investors and business owners and executives to stop drinking alcohol, or at least have a better relationship with alcohol. And then the other business is really to help people sleep better through our sleep company, Swan Wicks Sleep, which produces blue light blocking glasses, of which I know you're wearing one of our glasses at the moment. So that was really it. It was kind of a motivation. It was the clarity and the focus from not drinking, and it was the motivation to stop working for someone and actually be my own boss.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I'm excited to unpack all of that. And, with the Swan Wicks that, anybody that's watching this on YouTube is seeing me wear right now, and we'll get into this further of how they, impact sleep and what they do. But man, I don't know how long it's been now since I first stumbled across these glasses, 5, 6 years, whatever it's been. But man, I swear by them, dude. It makes such a world of difference from eye strain, from sleep to, the point where I go, I buy them for every one of my employees. My kids, now take kids, all the screen time. I make my kids wear them, my wife wear, we're just, huge fans. So we'll unpack, all of that. But I guess my first question about your story is, dude, what was the moment? What was the decision? What was going on that led you to deciding, okay, man, I need to eliminate alcohol from my life?
Well, I grew up on the east coast of Australia in Brisbane, and I was a socially acceptable drinker from the age of 17 right into my mid-30s. And when I say socially acceptable, what I mean is I would have a couple of drinks almost every night of the week. Now, I was rarely getting drunk. I didn't get arrested. I didn't get a DUI. I never hit rock bottom. But I realized that almost 2 decades of consistent drinking, 2 drinks a night, sometimes 3, had caught up with me. I was probably 30 pounds overweight. My sleep was pretty average. I was irritable. I was stressed. I looked weathered, and I wasn't being productive. And I just was, was foggy all the time. And the way I describe it is I was probably operating at about a 6 out of 10 compared to my potential. And I just felt blah. And so I got to age 35. I was in Austin, Texas. I was at the annual South by Southwest festival. I went out to an industry party, and I had 2 Bombay Sapphire gin and tonics. And I went back to my hotel 20 minutes outside of Austin, went to sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, I looked in the mirror and I could just feel like it was time to make a change. Like I had these fat rolls. I was tired. I could taste the gin from the night before. So I went next door to this hotel to an IHOP, an International House of Pancakes. And I was sitting in the IHOP and I'm thinking, what am I doing in an IHOP? Like I'm 35. I'm a little hungover, overweight, foggy, irritable, distracted. I'm just blah. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take a 30-day break from alcohol just to see what happens as an experiment, because I don't want to feel this mediocrity anymore. And so I did. I stopped drinking for what I thought was going to be just 30 days. And in those 30 days, I lost 13 pounds. It just fell off me. I started sleeping better. I had clarity and focus and energy. I was less irritable, less stressed. And during those 30 days, that was when I auditioned to become a Sports Center anchor on ESPN. And to my utter amazement, I got the job. I couldn't believe they gave me the job, quite frankly. But I really credit the clarity and focus and strategic thinking and the motivation that I was enjoying from not drinking alcohol to really helping me get that job. And so I just thought, well, this no drinking thing's pretty damn good. I look better, feel better, lost weight, got this dream job. I'm attracting a higher caliber of person into my life. My conversations now have some depth to them. They're no longer trivial or surface level. I'm like, I might just keep going. And so I did. I just kept going and going and going. I got to 3 months, then 6 months, then 9 months. I got to 1 year. I was back at the 2011 South by Southwest Festival, back in Austin, Texas. I went to the Luster Pearl Bar on Rainy Street, and I walked in and sat at the bar, and I ordered a Bud Light. And the bartender gave me the Bud Light, and I went to ceremoniously put it to my lips to have this celebratory beer after 1 year of not drinking. And at the very last moment, I put it down and I thought, well, in 1 year, I've lost those 30 pounds. I've got this great job. I've got an amazing girlfriend who's very high vibration and good energy. I'm got the body that nature intended me to have. I'm exercising, I'm working out. Life is way better than this time a year ago. I think I'll just keep going. And so I pushed the beer back, said to the guy, you know what? I don't need it anymore. You can throw it out. Just give me a soda water instead. And I literally haven't picked up an alcoholic drink since then. So since March 2010, I haven't touched a drop of alcohol. And that really was the year that really cemented that alcohol-free lifestyle, which has led now to, a lot of business success, but more than that, a lot of personal development success.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because, most that and when I say this, I don't know the stats on this, just from my own life experience. Like with myself, man, I had an abuse issue with the substance. Where it's like, man, every bad thing that was taking place in my life, like it was just like anything that went wrong, dude, alcohol was involved. And I'm like, okay, this isn't serving me. And alcoholism runs heavily in my family. And, it's hard to get to noon each day without, pouring that first drink. And a lot of people that end up giving it up or quitting, usually there's a story behind it of something that was very like an extreme situation. With yours, it was, you were just kind of an average social drinker. It wasn't like you were abusing this thing, but you were still able to identify the negatives it was doing for you.
Yeah. I mean, look, on occasion, right, I may have gone a bit too hard. Like I was living in the Hollywood Hills at the time. I was going to the MTV Movie Awards. I went to Elton John's post-Oscars party. I went to the Oscars, the Golden Globes. There are all these open bars. That phase of my life, that's where I was living pre-2010, right? And so, yeah, there were occasions where I would turn it on and I would drink a lot. I guess you could say I was abusing it, but I was lucky in that I didn't have this big dramatic rock bottom moment. It was just this consistent 2 or 3 drinks a night, every night of the week. And then sometimes it was like, I might turn it on and have 5 or 6. And I got away with, avoiding any kind of big dramatic incident. But I'm telling you, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, because that was, by the time I got to 35, I'd been drinking consistently almost 2 decades. And there was a study that came out in 2022, just last year, that showed that even one seemingly innocent drink per night is enough to cause brain degeneration of some type. It destroys white and gray matter in the brain. And they did this study of 35,000 British adults. And, it kind of turns the story of alcohol on its head, because if just one seemingly innocent drink a night can destroy white and gray matter in the brain, man, what does 20, 30 years of 1 drink a night, 2 drinks a night, a few drinks a night do?
Yeah. So one of your businesses that you've been operating, running, I mean, I know, Swan Wick, the blue blockers, but then one of them is helping people give up alcohol and go down this journey. Is that correct?
Yeah, we help business owners, executives, investors, real estate professionals, physicians, higher net worth, financially comfortable or successful folks, mostly in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, to stop drinking for at least 90 days through our coaching and our community. And it ends up being a business mastermind as well, so that we have a like-minded community. So for example, someone who might come in who's, let's say they're a 50-year-old real estate broker or investor or something, they're not going to be on a group coaching call with a 20-year-old meth addict who's holding up a gas station, right? We just don't let that kind of folk come into our community. And so that like-mindedness, that relatability of other people who are also stopping drinking for 90 days goes a long way to making it stick, the accountability, the breakthrough. So what we really do is we rewire our clients' mindset around alcohol so they have fun being alcohol free. So they make millions of dollars more than they would have if they were drinking. So they lose body weight and they get the body that they wanted. So they repair or save a marriage and they're more present with their children. And there's lots more benefits that come from that. But yes, ultimately we help high performers have a better relationship with alcohol by helping them get to at least 3 months alcohol free.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So then, yeah, I mean, because it's so socially acceptable, where, and again, I know my example for myself was a little bit more of an extreme example, but it's like I had to live like a monk for about 6 months before I could develop the strength to even go into social circles, right? Because it's just, like you go to a dinner with people. I mean, it's just around everywhere, So what are some of the biggest challenges that you see that people have that maybe want to give up this substance, but just seem to just keep returning back to it?
Well, the biggest challenge is people mistakenly think that they have to retreat from society and be boring and dull if they're not going to drink. Nothing could be further from the truth. I know that was your experience, Josh, like you kind of like retreated for 6 months as you shared. I would suggest it didn't have to be that way. And it doesn't have to be that way for many folks. In fact, with our clients, we make them run towards bars and corporate golf days and business lunches and dinners where the booze is flowing. Because otherwise, if we're just having you stop drinking for 90 days and you feel like you're depriving yourself of something that you might ordinarily choose, then you just feel like a prisoner. And all prisoners want to break out of prison. And so by the time you get to day 91, you'll just return to drinking. So the biggest challenge is persuading people or helping people persuade themselves that in actual fact, they can have more fun without alcohol, that they can do more deals and better deals in business being alcohol free, that they can actually enjoy themselves amongst others who are drinking expensive wine or vodka. So that's the biggest challenge. But then once we help them overcome that challenge, wow, it just opens up so many possibilities, because then we have clients who, they're in their 50s in the corporate world, an executive, and they're overseeing teams, or they're a real estate sales team, and they're overseeing, dozens of people who are selling homes or selling real estate information products or whatever it may be. Once we show them that they can actually go out, celebrate, be alcohol free, and have people look at them through the lens of admiration rather than thinking, oh, he's got a problem or she's got a problem, must be something wrong, then everyone can just relax. You can relax. And that's when the productivity really increases. That's when the happiness and the joy increases. That's when life becomes so much more freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I used to look at it as I had an issue with alcohol, but then now as I reflect on it and have a different perspective with it, I think I was just bored in life, man. And going through it, because it was just like, okay, hey, I'd go to this event or I hang out with these group of people. And it just made it where I could get through the event with drinking and kind of made it enjoyable. But it was like, all right, it forced me to kind of rediscover my passions. Like, okay, what can I really be passionate about and really enjoy living and doing, and what like feeds my soul, where I don't need this substance to enjoy. I compare it to like almost being in a car wreck and you have to learn how to rewalk again. Like that's almost how I felt, but then from there, it's like, I don't do the crap that brought that boredom. It's like, it forced me to go out there and I mean, I don't know how to say it, but live life, right?
Yeah. We had one client, his name's Christian. He's early 60s. He lives in the UK and he has a textiles company, makes millions of dollars. And in his late 50s, he nursed his late wife through cancer until she finally passed. And he was drinking excessively, like a lot. And he came to us not long after she died and said, I'm drinking too much. My life's a mess. I've got all this grief from my wife dying. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? So he came in, we helped him rewire his mindset around alcohol. He stopped drinking. He graduated at the end of the 90 days. And then what he got clear on during those 90 days is that he wanted to fulfill a bucket list item that his late wife had for years been encouraging him to do, but he just kept procrastinating on. And that was to learn how to sail and sail across an ocean. And within 6 months of him graduating our 90-day stop drinking process, he had joined a 17-man yacht on a race from the west coast of Africa to the Caribbean in St. Lucia. And he went on I think it was a 21-night yacht race and completed that completely alcohol-free. When he got off at the other end, all of the sailors and everyone there, they all went off and got drunk. He went there and drank soda water ice and a piece of lime and just felt amazing, celebrating with his fellow crewmen. And he didn't touch a drop of alcohol. I had the pleasure of seeing him in person just Monday night here in London, England, where I am currently. And that was the first time I got to meet him in person because we'd done the coaching, virtually through Zoom calls. And he's still alcohol-free 3 years later. And he just said, my life has turned around. I feel so much better. My business is firing on all cylinders. I've met someone new that I've just started a romantic relationship with. This is a guy in his early 60s. And he was just going, I just cannot believe how much better life is and how many more things I have to do and enjoy because I'm alcohol-free. So that's just, that's an example of someone who is filling up time by drinking. But then when you remove that drinking, he accomplishes all these things, including crossing things off his bucket list.
Yep. I love it. So then, I know that you mentioned, okay, I mean, because we're taught this, okay, everything's okay in moderation. So what you said earlier of just having 1 or 2 drinks a night, with the damages it can do to what'd you say, gray and white matter, the brain. But what are some things that people need to be aware of thinking that, oh, I don't have a problem with it, it's just moderation, I just have a drink here or there, right? Like what are some of those things that people really need to have awareness of how this potentially could be negatively impacting their life and why they might want to consider, going through like a 90-day challenge like you have?
Yeah, well, I would also just say it's not a challenge, right? It's a
Yes.
premium coaching experience. Challenge, it implies that, this is going to be hard and it's going to be a fun little thing we'll just do for 30 days and then we'll go back to the norm, right? So, ours is really like a mind rewiring process, which is designed to give you long-term, years and decades long power over your drinking habits. So I like to get rid of the word challenge and use words like, freedom, alcohol-free lifestyle, that kind of thing. What I would say is this. If you have a drink on occasion, right? Is that going to kill you? No. Is it going to compromise your life? Maybe, maybe not, right? If on occasion means you have a drink or 2 here or there, once a month, once every few months, blah, 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 blah. Is that going to be detrimental? Probably not, right? That's okay. But when people say in moderation, well, let's define what in moderation means, because most people would probably think that in moderation is probably more or at least 7 drinks per week, right? 1 standard drink per night. Now, again, this is not my opinion. This is just the studies that show this. 2022 study came out. 1 drink, 7 standard drinks a week destroys white and gray matter in your brain. The other thing is having this seemingly innocent glass of wine or drink or beer at the end of a day. Oh, I'm okay. I'm just having one innocent drink at the end of each day, is enough to severely compromise your sleep. Now, you're actually better off drinking wine or beer or scotch or whatever your drink is for breakfast than you are anywhere close to bedtime, because one drink within 3 or 4 hours of sleep is going to compromise how long you spend in that REM phase of sleep, how long you spend in the deep sleep. It's going to make you sleep a lot lighter than you ordinarily would have. It may ultimately make you sleep less in duration, and you'll wake up feeling just a little bit irritable, just a little bit foggy, just a little bit slower than you may have been if you had not had that drink. And just that little bit of irritability with your wife or your husband or your children can suddenly have this spin-off effect of causing just a little bit of resentment in the marriage or in the family. And just that little bit of lethargy might mean that you don't make that one additional call during the workday that could end up resulting in $1 million additional revenue. And so now you go, oh, it's fine. I just drink in moderation. I just have a drink a night, a couple of drinks, no big deal. All right, maybe, or maybe you're leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in business revenue and income on the table. Maybe you're increasing the likelihood of a divorce. Maybe you're decreasing your experience and enjoyment of life, which leads to you being unmotivated, or at least not as motivated as you may have. Maybe it leads to you operating life at just a 7 out of 10. But guess what? The difference between a 7 out of 10 and an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 is only a little bit on the scale. But in terms of the impact, clarity, focus, energy, joy can have on your life, wow, millions of dollars, marriage of your dreams, the parental life of your dreams, the body that nature intended you to have. That's the difference.
Yeah. That compound effect, man, it's powerful. So then, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs that I know that talk about drinking, you know, when we're having these conversations about it, a lot of it is a way to help deal with stress, because we can live these very stressful lives and very, you know, but I always look at it too as, okay, well, that is a way where you're not a coping mechanism, where you're also not dealing with the actual real problem, you know, so if somebody's using it as a crutch to go out there and get through a stressful day, and it's like, hey man, you know, I just like to have that drink or two at night to help me unwind and relax so I can get my mind off of business. You know, like what are things that, because I'm sure that you deal a lot with, you know, these entrepreneurs and executives that you work with.
What's the question? Sorry, Josh.
So just for those that are utilizing that as, you know, alcohol as a way of, man, you know, dude, I just need that drink or two at night to relax my mind, you know, because we're in a very high stress environment as entrepreneurs, you know.
Got it. So what I would say generally is live a life where you're not stressed and therefore craving drinks at the end of the day to relieve you of that stress. I'll come back to that in just a second. The thing is, the drink at the end of the day, which you think relieves you of your stress, is actually creating much of the stress that you're trying to be relieved of. Right? So you're stressed at the end of the day, high pressure, business, staff, people, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I just need a couple of drinks at the end of the day to relax. Okay, you have those couple of drinks at the end of the day to relax, but guess what? Now your sleep sucks. I mean, because your sleep sucks, now you're stressed and anxious, and now you're just looking forward to 5, 6, 7 o'clock at the end of the day each day, when you can have this temporary and illusionary relief of a bottle of wine or a scotch or a whiskey or whatever, a couple of beers, right? Now, here's the thing. I get that it feels like it's giving you that temporary relief. It may feel that way, but it is creating and perpetuating the stress and the anxiety that you are feeling. If you are able to successfully rid yourself of alcohol, or what I refer to as attractively packaged poison, because that's all it is. If you can do that consistently for at least 3 months and be alcohol free, you will find that you will just naturally not be as stressed or as anxious. You will be able to handle the tasks throughout the day. And whereas once before you were stressed and anxious and seeking some kind of relief from that at the end of the day, you will find that you will manage your energy levels, your stress and anxiety levels much more throughout the day, that you get to the end of the day and you don't need anything to relieve you of any feeling, because you're already just in a calm, peaceful, joyful way of being. Now, there are so many things that can go into contributing to you feeling that way other than not drinking alcohol. You know, we can get into a whole nother conversation around the power of writing down things that you're grateful for, making sure you get morning sunlight, making sure you don't drink coffee after 12 p.m., drinking lots of water, making sure you have great friendships and relationships, eating clean quality food, grounding, you know, having your bare feet on the grass at least for 10, 15 minutes a day, wearing blue light blocking glasses at night so you optimize your sleep, making sure you sleep in a nice, cool environment, leaning into personal development and conscious communication, how to be an effective leader, how to deal with troublesome staff or clients or colleagues. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do, but really getting rid of alcohol enables you to open up all of those modalities, which then creates a life that isn't filled with stress and anxiety, that is making you try to relieve yourself of that with alcohol in the first place.
Yep. Yep. Love it, man. So then now was this company created before Swan Wick, and was Swan Wick, well, I'll just lead with that question. Like when did Swan Wick come into
simultaneously, 2015. January 2015, I was with a friend of mine, and we were in Palm Springs, California, a couple of hours outside of LA, and we went on a guy's trip to a hotel resort, played some golf. Anyway, we went out to this resort restaurant, and my friend was wearing a really ugly pair of orange UVEX safety goggles. And I was like, what are you doing? They're disgusting. Get them off. And he goes, no, man, I'm trying to block the blue light. And I said, block the blue light? What are you talking about? And he went on to explain that artificial light at night, from reading lights, bedroom lights, microwave lights, speedometer lights, traffic lights, screens like cell phones and desktop computers and television screens, all emit this artificial blue light, which at nighttime stimulates our pituitary and pineal glands, which suppresses our melatonin release. And when our melatonin is suppressed, we don't sleep that great. And so the only problem is that you had to look like a meth chemist in order to block the blue light with these glasses. And I was living in Hollywood and just vain enough at the time that I wanted to look cool and stylish. And so I went back to my apartment at the time in LA, and I pulled out an old pair of ski goggles from my cupboard, which had an orange tint to it. And I put these ridiculous ski goggles on, and I started watching reruns of the TV series Mad Men, which is on the channel AMC. And I realized that I was actually feeling sleepier watching this TV show late at night because I was wearing the goggles. And then when I ultimately removed them, I fell asleep quicker, I slept deeper, and I woke up in the morning feeling much better. That's when I got the idea to create a stylish pair of blue blockers that I would want to wear, and that kind of other cool hip people like you, Josh, might want to wear. Because you said before that you've subsequently bought these glasses now for your family and for some staff, which I really appreciate. Thank you. So that was really how that company was created. And at the same time, I noticed that lots and lots of people were asking me about, hey, how do you go to these Hollywood Hills parties, have fun, and not drink? Like, they were saying to me things like, we see you, you know, having fun, drinking soda water when everyone else is drinking from the free bar. How do you do it? And so that was when I got the idea of, like, maybe there's a business here. Maybe I can create like a little 30-day stop drinking program to help people take an initial break. And so that's what I did. I created this 30-day stop drinking program. I threw it up on the internet, and I started making sales, started getting some customers. And then a few years later, that turned into the iteration of what it is now, which is premium high-end coaching for high achievers in a group setting with other high achievers, business owners, executives, investors, like I mentioned before. And it's just evolved from there. So yeah, 2015 was really the year where I took my entrepreneurial learnings from between when I quit ESPN until that point and created those businesses. And then, 8 years later, they're still going strong.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. So then, speaking to the glasses themselves, and I know I mentioned this earlier, is like the only time, and a lot of our, those watch and listen to the podcast may not see me wearing them here, because the only time that I don't wear them is usually on the podcast, right? Just so we can see our eyes, see the eye contact, whatever it may be right there. But
I'm going to rock mine now. I've got my
yeah,
orange lens glasses on for those who can't see us. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, outside of that, man, they're glued to my head, dude. I've got really bad dry eyes. I live in a dry environment, and I've just found it to make a massive difference. I mean, from sleep, but also just other things. It's just like throughout the day, productivity and eye strain, but I've also tested and tried so many other different brands as well, and Swan Wicks by far is the most productive that I've found. Right, when it comes to that. So, what is it that these are doing with the blue light that block that blue light? And I know that you already mentioned some of the damages of blue light, but I mean, our whole lives, we can't get away from this blue light anymore, so it's like, okay, if we're not intentional about trying to guard ourselves from it, like, you're going to get the negative impacts of it.
So look, here's the thing. These glasses, to my knowledge, are the only scientifically proven way to block enough of the blue light that messes with your sleep and destroys your productivity. In 2019, the University of Washington conducted a scientific study on our brand of glasses, which is Swan Wicks Sleep and the Swannies. Okay. And what they found is that the people who wore these glasses reported sleeping 11% better, and they had a 12% increase in productivity and focus the next day. Now, you mentioned before we started recording here that you have a lot of folks in real estate who listen and get support from you. If you had a 12% better work productivity each day because you slept better, because you wore the glasses, how many more deals might that equal over the course of a year? Right? Even if it's like 3 or 4, I'm imagining most people would probably make 15, 20 grand commission in some cases. That's 80 grand, 100 grand a year additional just because you threw a pair of blue blockers on the night before. Right? And this is not me trying to sell you on this. This is what a University of Washington scientific study found. So the difference, I guess, I can't speak to particular brands, but what I can say is this: about 3 years ago, not long after we did that report, we bought about 12 other brands of glasses, and we took it to an independent spectrometer, and they put the glasses underneath a spectrometer to see just how much of the blue light was blocked. And 11 of the 12 did not block enough of the blue light that's responsible for destroying your sleep. Now, that is about 430 nanometers. I won't get into too technical jargon here, but essentially what it means is this: our glasses block enough of the blue light, or all of the blue light, I should say, that is responsible for stimulating your pituitary and pineal gland and suppressing melatonin production. At least the 11 of the 12 brands we tested did not. Now, they did block some blue light, but they didn't block enough of it to be useful for you for your sleep quality. That's all I can really say about that. Again, I don't want to disparage other brands because I really don't want to focus on ours. But I will say this: professional sports teams have bought these glasses for all of their players. Tottenham Hotspur in the English Premier League soccer, all of their players, including the England soccer captain Harry Kane, wears Swannies blue light blockers. In fact, if you go onto the Spurs official Instagram account, you'll see photos of some of the players wearing them. Manchester United players, New Orleans Saints, the New York Knicks, some players in the LA Lakers. All of these pro teams now are really focusing on making sure their pro athletes sleep the way nature intended them to sleep, because they know that creates on-court or on-field performance in the days after that. Anyway, I hope I adequately answered your question there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And it's, so the other day I have a good buddy of mine. He's at my house having dinner. Now he's a prison guard, and he's most of his day is watching the tapes, right? Cause he works kind of in the, smuggling and gang units. And it's like, okay, like who's, smuggling in drugs? How are they getting in? and he was telling me that he's just struggling with eye strain. He's been working a ton of overtime, having a tough time sleeping because he's just looking at these screens all day. I'm like, here, dude. I'm like, here's a pair, because I have, a bunch of extra ones laying around. I'm like, here's a pair, try these for, a few days, try these for the next week, see if it makes a difference. And then if so, here's where you can go buy them, and within 3 days, dude, he's like, holy shit, man, just such a massive world of difference. And, I have like, I've always thought about it for me, but then a couple of years ago, it hit me with my kids too. It's like kids on their screens. Now we try to be responsible with that and make sure they're getting playtime outside of screen time, but it's impossible to keep our kids having zero screen time. Right. But one of my sons, man, it was even like a few, a couple hours a day, just get these big bags under his eyes, just always started looking tired, and I'm like, I just started forcing my kids to wear them and just solved it instantaneously, so it's, and just to what you said there, it's like, okay, not only our productivity, but if we can get our staff wearing them, this is one reason it's like, I'll do all my staff as soon as they, hired, it's like, boom, I'm getting my pair, right? Because it's, we just live in a world where we live in front of these screens, at least for most of us,
That's so amazing. Thanks for sharing that. I love to hear those success stories. And, I mean, I get lots of those often from people who say they've just been game changers, like and I'm just surprised that it still hasn't taken off in the mainstream yet. I mean, it's increasing. People's awareness about the dangers of blue light are definitely increasing. Our business has increased every year for the 7 or 8 years that we've had it. And so, they do really well, but it's taken 7 or 8 years just to get some of these sports teams on board and for people now to be talking about them in the mainstream. I guess it goes back to that thing, like the reptilian brain of the human being is still really only understands things like food, sex, danger, money. When you're trying to explain, hey, there's a pair of blue light blocking glasses that block 430 nanometers of blue light and it stimulates your pituitary and pineal gland, it can help you sleep. People kind of like, what? That's too much. I'm just going to move on to something a lot simpler, and but I tell you, for those of us, for those high achievers who understand performance and what it takes to reach peak performance, as I know many of your clients do, because they're in real estate, knowing this stuff can be the difference between having a very mediocre and average business or having a very successful one. It can be the difference between having a very mediocre physical health and having very strong physical health. It can be the difference between saving a marriage and flourishing in a marriage or getting a divorce. It can be the difference between being present with your kids or not being present with your kids. So peak performance, this is the stuff that we get to learn about, which is really, really fun for me, as it appears to be for you as well.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of people too, we like to overcomplicate things where it's like, okay, hey, yeah, you could just put on these, inexpensive little glasses, wear these throughout the day and have, what'd you say, 12, 13% productivity?
Increase,
right?
yeah.
But we're looking for the, what's that crazy, strategy that's going to increase my ROAS, that's going to do this. And not saying that those things can't help, but it's like, dude, just we try to overcomplicate this, where it can't just be as simple as putting these glasses on.
Yeah. You know what? I had a client, his name's Gaetano. He's in real estate. He's based in Boston, Massachusetts. And he went through 90 days not drinking and wearing the Swannies blue light blocking glasses. And he said he did one additional deal each of the 3 months that he was with us in that program and made $250,000 more income because of it.
Yeah.
So he credits one additional deal per month for 3 months as a result of not drinking, wearing the glasses and sleeping better. And that was $250,000. That's crazy. Don't you think that's crazy? Like when you really think about it that way, it's like, imagine someone comes over and goes, hey, I'll give you $250,000 in cash. Oh yeah. What do I got to do? Well, you got to invest in a pair of blue light blocking glasses and stop drinking for 90 days. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, and I personally can believe it because I live it, right. I've seen the impact, and I have no affiliation to you. This is, we met for a brief, moment at a mastermind years ago, but it's not like, I'm not attached to your business. I've, right. I'm a client. I'm a fan, dude, right. And that's why I wanted you to come on today. So, all right, man, one thing, you had a talking point here that really intrigued me. You put, why brushing your teeth at night destroys your sleep. I'm really interested in hearing, the rhyme to the reason behind that.
Sure. So pretend that you're not a blue blocker wearer for a second, Joshua. Okay. Pretend that you don't know about blue light blocking glasses. What time do you brush your teeth before you go to sleep most nights?
Like the minute before my head hits the pillow,
Yeah.
right before, immediately.
Yeah. Okay. And when you brush your teeth, do you do it in the bathroom?
Yep.
And is the bathroom light on?
Yep.
The bathroom light is destroying your sleep.
Yep.
Right. So it's nothing to do with the way you brush your teeth in terms of like, up or down or the sideways. It's a little bit of a play on words. It's the fact that you're literally exposing your eyes to that artificial light from the bathroom light. And so now your body and your brain mistakenly believes it's still daytime. So it doesn't release the amount of melatonin that it wants to release. So when your head hits the pillow, that will show up in your sleep scores. I track my sleep score with an Oura ring, showing, less time in that REM sleep, less duration of sleep, more movement, more tossing and turning in the night, and ultimately waking up not feeling as refreshed as you may have felt if you had protected your eyes from the blue light. So most people listening to this who aren't blue blocker wearers, the way they brush their teeth is compromising their sleep quality because they're brushing their teeth just before they go to sleep with the light on, which is suppressing our melatonin production.
Yep. Or they're dumb scrolling on Instagram on their phone.
Most people get into bed and scroll on Netflix or Instagram or emails or texting or whatever. And you know what? Hands up. I do that sometimes. But guess what? I'm only ever doing it while wearing a pair of blue light blocking glasses, while wearing these Swannies blue light blocking glasses. Swannies is like the kind of nickname that customers have given the glasses over the years.
Yeah. So what are some KPIs when it comes to sleep? Like, I mean, because now we have all these tracking devices, but when it comes to, the different sleep cycles, to go out there and get that right amount of quality sleep, to be optimized, to be most productive, what should we really be focusing on?
Do you track your sleep with any device, Joshua?
I don't currently, but I've used, I've had the Oura ring, or I guess I still have it, but, for, I don't know, about a year or so, wore a Garmin device. So I definitely tracked it before. It's been about a year since I've tracked it though.
Well, look, I'll tell you, I like tracking my sleep because it holds me accountable and I keep thinking about trying to improve my scores. So I'll give you one here. This is from Wednesday, July 19. This is my Oura ring results. And this just gives you a kind of a snapshot of a pretty good night's sleep or a very good night's sleep. So you can see there what it tracks. Do you want to read it out? Whatever you see there, Joshua?
Yeah. So total sleep, 8 hours, 6 minutes, time in bed, 9 hours, 8 minutes, 89% sleep efficiency. Let's see, restlessness, good. REM sleep, 1 hour, 57 minutes. So 24% in REM sleep, 24% deep sleep.
Yeah, they're good numbers, right? If you see blue on an Oura tracker, you're doing really well. If I show you the night before, I got an hour less sleep, which was 7 hours and 10. It was still pretty good, but you can see there's some red there, right? Like you've got restfulness. So I was moving around a little bit. I didn't spend as long in that deep REM phase of sleep. Still a pretty good night's sleep. Still very good. Still got 7 hours, 10 minutes of actual sleep and 8 hours and 40 minutes in bed. So then let's have a look. The night before, there's another one there, a little bit more restful. Restfulness was only fair, which means I was probably tossing and turning a little bit in the bed, but everything else looked pretty good. So those numbers are actually very, very good, really. Like anyone would be happy with those kind of scores. So to answer your question, I like to look at how long I spend in REM sleep, how long I spend in deep sleep. Am I moving in the night? What time am I going to sleep? What's my resting heart rate like? And because I'm tracking it every day, I can't tell you how many times it's been like 10 o'clock at night and I've been wanting to stay up a little later, but I'm like, oh, I've got to get into my sleep. And then that quote unquote forces me to kind of, shut down for the day and get into sleep because I really want that good score. In fact, I've got, I'm in a WhatsApp group with some friends, some guy friends of mine, and we're all competing. You can see it here, FC Aura Ring. We're all competing to see who got the best sleep scores, which is hilarious. But it's this great built-in accountability, community, and fun, which keeps us focused on optimal sleep all the time, because we know how that can have such an impact in the quality of our lives.
Yeah, no, and I love that, dude. Because I mean, in the entrepreneurial world, there's the focus is usually the opposite: hustle, grind, don't sleep, sleep less. Where, all right, you've created massively successful businesses, but you have a mastermind about who can get the best sleep. It's just kind of opposite of what a lot of us are conditioned.
It's hilarious, isn't it? But it's also genius. It's also genius because the hustle, the grind, it might get you some good short-term financial wins. It could do, right? It may. But long-term, that's not sustainable. You are going to burn out. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be tired, irritable, stressed, anxious. I made a choice some years ago when I first delved into these businesses, like helping people stop drinking, helping people sleep better. I made a choice, and my choice was I'm going to try and make these businesses as successful as possible, but I'm going to surrender and let go to this traditional hustle, scale to the moon, go. I make millions of dollars in 6 months. I have this funnel that just went crazy, double down, triple down. I just went, look, if those opportunities come up to double down and triple down and rocket to the moon, and it makes strategic, calm sense to do so, then I'll do so. I mean, I'm not going to not do that. But what I'm definitely not going to do is be all stressed and go double down, do this, blah, 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 stay up late at night, burn the midnight oil, go out, do drinks, don't sleep well, get up early, hustle, got to do this. We got to make shit work, double down. No, I don't want that energy. So candidly, I haven't made as much money as many people have. I've made a lot. I mean, our companies have done, $20 million plus in sales, and, they're really, really solid businesses. They're great. And that's okay. Like, I'm all right with going at that pace as long as I'm focusing on my sleep, my health, my relationships. I like to travel. I like to play music. I like to have low stress. And because of that, every time I go and get my blood pressure measured, the doctor says, wow, you got the blood pressure of a teenager. And I'm like, awesome. I love it. And I'm 47 years old, So again, I'm hoping this isn't coming across as self-serving or like boasting or whatever it is. I don't want this to be like people to think this is like a humble brag. All I'm saying is that I have sacrificed making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of personal income that I could have made, because I have recognized that I just want calm, peace, low stress, and to have very successful, fun businesses that help a lot of people and are wildly profitable, which they are, but just at a pace that doesn't make me feel like I'm running around like a headless chicken.
Yeah. No, I mean, to me, it just sounds like, dude, you're a guy that has extreme clarity on what matters most to you, and you're staying grounded in those kind of core values.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. So then, because in order to scale your businesses, the way that you have and create that success, what have been some challenges with growing and scaling the business to be able to maintain that level of balance where you're not sacrificing those other important things to you?
I asked someone about 6 years ago who was a very successful entrepreneur in Australia. He owned a whole chain of very famous pharmacies in Australia, made tens of millions of dollars. And I asked him once, we were at a Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl was in Tampa or some Miami. I'm not sure. I can't remember where it was. But I said, what's the secret to your success, to making this company, almost $100 million? And he thought about it. He said, it's just, I put the right people on the right seat of the bus. So I hire the right person, put them on the right seat, and then I get out of their way. And that's it. And he said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm really good at just hiring the right people and making sure they're on the right bus. And then I get the hell out of their way and let them do what they do. And so I think that's been a hack, I guess, or a not a productivity tool, but a success tool, I guess, for me, which is I've just hired good people and I'll let them do their thing. And I always try to support them. And I always think I work for them rather than, take the energy of they work for me. And so when I say I work for them, what it means is that I'm just trying to give them the best environment and the best conditions for them to do what they do. And so then I'm able to just somewhat calmly just be a people person and manage some egos and manage, people's personalities and try to support them the best way I can. And that's been pretty successful. It's a pretty successful strategy for me. Now, having said that, I don't want to paint a picture that's always been rosy. Candidly, about 18 months ago, the sleep company, we got into some cash flow challenges. Sales were good, but we made a few strategic wrong choices where we had too much cash tied up in inventory. There were massive delays coming out of overseas. You might remember there were all those delays coming out of the pandemic. There was a, not a huge downturn, but sales were kind of like flat. We'd invested in some other areas as experiments, but didn't work out. And suddenly, over about a 6-week period, we were like, oh, holy crap, we've got ourselves into some trouble here. Like, man, we've got debt up to here and cash tied up here and inventories over there. And it was like this chess game that we were playing, trying to move things around. And I actually thought at one point that we were in some trouble because I would have had to have borrowed more money or anyway, I won't go into the specifics, but it was challenging. And, I did have much higher stress than I ordinarily would have at that time. And I didn't sleep as well as I may have. I think I handled it really well, given the fact that I don't drink and the fact that I do focus on my sleep. But that high stress certainly was a time in my life which wasn't really pleasant. But I think every entrepreneur, every business owner, every high performer goes through at least one of those at some point in their career, right?
Yeah. What's it, in the book, the hard thing about the hard things, it's like businesses always have those seasons. You got times of war and you got times of peace, and it's inevitable on a long enough timeline that you're going to experience that adversity and some of those hardships and, just part of the process.
Yeah. You've experienced some of those downs as well as the ups.
Yeah. Too many, man. Too many, I've been, in the entrepreneurial world for about 18 years now. And it's, but what I've learned from each one though is as painful as they are, that is what ends up facilitating the most overall growth, because you can learn a little bit from your successes, but it's those failures, whether you want to call them failures, temporary defeats, whatever you want to call them, it's like, at least for me, those have been the best learning lessons of whether it's, a flaw in the model, whether it's not having the right people, whether it's, flaw in the strategy, product, whatever it is. I mean, something led to that, right? So then it's like, okay, well, what can we do to, prevent that in the future? But then I found for myself, it forces me to metamorphosize into that next better version of myself to lead the company that much better.
Have you stuck with the same business for many years or chopped and changed your businesses?
No, so my start entrepreneurial journey was in real estate, which almost all my businesses are still in real estate today. I've got one supplement business, which is a nootropic and then an eye formula, but outside of that, everything's attached to the real estate space. Now I've had at one point, I've had 13 different businesses over the years and so I veered off for some time on, a bunch of other industries and some different niches there. But, I've kind of circled back to the thing that I know best. Now I have multiple different businesses that serve that same industry.
Yes.
So, it's expanded to that just, because one thing that I've learned of really key is figuring out what those right leverage pieces are, so it's like, okay, I can go out there and sell houses, one by one and be a realtor, a solopreneur, well, then eventually, okay, well, let me start building a team and let me start hiring agents, and then building, the team, the brokerage. Well, then it's like, okay, now you're selling that product. What if I had a mortgage company, a title company? Well, what if I become my own franchisor and now have franchises that I'm able to go out there and sell? Okay, well, real estate agents need this software to run their business off. What if I go create the software company? So it's metamorphosize all the tools and things that they need. But yeah, that leverage piece is took me the longest to really figure out, but it's made the biggest difference.
Yeah, I was thinking one of the things that has led to my success, I think, has been just staying in those two businesses for the 7 or 8 years. There've been a few times where I've kind of got off track and gone chased a shiny rabbit, and it hasn't worked out. I always come back to what I know, and I'm comfortable, and I know these businesses, and I'm not even thinking about selling the businesses. I'm just thinking about keeping them for 20 years, and that having that long-term vision helps me with controlling stress or limiting stress or eliminating stress, because I'm like, okay, I know this, I'm familiar, I got it. And so then it's all just about what's another growth strategy we can try? What's another strategy we can do? Like, what's something else we can do here without going, oh, I'm going to go to this completely different realm and start something new. So I think just staying in my lane and feeling comfortable with that has also gone a long way to making sure I have a pleasurable experience of life.
When I got to imagine too, that because the businesses that you have are making a massive difference in people's lives, that, when you have a business that's it's like, okay, I don't know, I could go open a fast food joint, but if I feel like the business I'm doing is not really helping the general public, versus, you're seeing massive impact made in people's lives on a daily basis. I got to imagine that adds to a lot of your success too, that fuel, that passion.
It does. I sleep well at night, not just because I wear blue light blocking glasses, but because I feel like I'm in integrity and I'm doing a good thing. And not to say that people who run fast food are not doing a good thing. It just doesn't, running a fast food joint doesn't align with my values, right? So I'm just, people have got to put food on the table. People have got to do what they got to do. Every entrepreneur has got their own journey. But for me, a lot of the enjoyment is not just making, good, healthy profits. It's also creating impact in people's lives. And I'm so thankful that you shared with me the impact that the glasses have made on your life. I love that. And, I have a podcast in Apple Podcasts called Alcohol Free Lifestyle, and I interview a lot of our graduating high performers. Man, just listening to some of those success stories and interviews, you hear someone say, I saved my marriage. You heard someone say, I lost 25 pounds. Another one says, I got my confidence back. Someone else, like Gaetano, said, I made $250,000 more income in 3 months. You hear that stuff and you go, this is a pretty cool business. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So I got one last question for you, but before we do that, for anybody that's watching and listening that, wants to check out your podcast, that wants to, everybody that's watching or listening to this needs to go buy a pair of Swan Wicks right now. So, and check out your other program as well, of course, too. But, where's the best place to go do that at?
Well, for the glasses, you can go to swanwicksleep.com, or you can just type in Swanwick or Swannies into Amazon. You'll find us there. Alcohol Free Lifestyle is the name of the podcast in Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. The website's alcoholfreelifestyle.com. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at James Swanwick, and I do lots of alcohol tips there and sleep tips on my Instagram. And then we've got a YouTube channel, Alcohol Free Lifestyle, as well.
Out of curiosity, man, what's your favorite pair of the glasses?
These are the classics. These are the black ones, but there's a pair that used to be called crystals, which are kind of got a clearer frame to them. I almost said lens, but not lens. They're kind of like the coolest ones. Let me see if I can pull it up here. They're called, I've got to actually say, there's a pair of cool aviators as well, which make you kind of look like Top Gun and Tom Cruise in Top Gun. But the ones that are called crystals, they're called crystal Swannies. They've kind of got a clear frame, as well as the orange blue blockers. That's my favorite style, I think. But right now I've got the classics on, just the black style. These are pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have a couple pair of the clear ones, but my wife and daughter, they love them, so they can't always steal them from me. You know, so, I'm always rocking the classics. But all right, man. So last question for you. If James today, knowing everything you know now today, could go back and have a conversation with your earlier self when you first started this entrepreneur journey, and give yourself two pieces of advice that you feel would have really helped and fast forwarded the success trajectory that you're on, what would those couple pieces of advice look like?
As it relates to the entrepreneurial journey, I would say just start. And then secondly, I would say just start with a mentor, because when I hired a mentor, that was when I got the most success. When I was trying to be an entrepreneur on my own and figure it out on my own, it just took so many months, headaches, wrong turns. The moment I paid to have a mentor, I paid attention, and then that's when I got really quick and effective results. So that was really important. And then the other thing is not necessarily follow your passion. Like I'm not like super passionate about stopping drinking or sleeping. I would say I'm enthusiastic about it. I tried a business because I'm a big Tottenham Hotspur supporter in the English Premier League. And I did this blog or this business called Tottenham Nation. And I thought because I was really passionate about my football team that I'd really be passionate about the business. And I really wasn't. I actually hated the business and I fell out of love with my team for a while there. So that was a good lesson. For me, it was more, the advice I would say would be follow your curiosities, follow your interests, follow something that you're enthusiastic about, but not necessarily super passionate. I mean, I'm passionate about helping people, and I'm enthusiastic about the way that I do it. And that keeps me really motivated at a very steady pace, long-term over many years.
Yep, love it. Powerful stuff. And James, man, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here. This has been awesome, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me on, and thanks for being such a supporter of the glasses in particular. I really appreciate you for that.
Yep, 100%. And those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate you guys being here, for watching, for listening. Truly appreciate your support. Keep crushing it, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.